change the way we think, and we will change the way we drink.
The views expressed on this special broadcast of the Take 12 radio show do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. KHLT is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
A very scary experience.
You know, God is a solution. God, the 12 step.
I like where he's going here.
Helps the community grow, helps us grow. Monty has done a phenomenal job. Lack of open-mindedness. And you're talking about taking people through a spiritual process and getting them into recovery.
Thanks, Monty, and thanks for all your support.
We need spirituality to make this thing work long term.
It's an absolute pleasure. He certainly knows a lot of people.
This is one of the places that is about the business of the solution.
And now, broadcasting on location somewhere in the vast expanse of the Pacific Northwest, it's the over-opinionated 12-stepologist, the Monty Man.
That's right. Well, welcome aboard, one and all, to another fine broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show, broadcasting to you and for you from the outskirts of beautiful downtown Albany, Oregon, via the internet worldwide. Dave Fleming, CADC Level 2, is in the studio with me. Hey, Dave.
Good morning.
We've been kind of talking about relapse for the last several weeks, right?
A little bit. We got more to talk about.
More coming. So we had one of our co-hosts relapse and came and shared her experience, strength, and hope, and how she got back on the horse, and with the help of her sponsor and her 12-step fellowship. And we talked on relapse prevention part 1 last week on your show, entitled To Overcome. And then we're going to do a part 2 next month because we barely scratched the surface, right? So it's it's been kind of a running theme. And then Brian Duncan, a multi-Dove Award winner, Brian Duncan, on his show with us, Radio Rehab, The Road to Redemption, the topic on the 30 Minutes of Recovery Music and Commentary on Saturday was relapse. So
interesting. It
just kind of all falls into place, Dave.
Somebody needs what we're sharing.
I guess so. All right. Well, listeners, you have a treat in store today. This is a special broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. And today on the show, our special guest is Dr. Robb Kelly. He, by the way, is a world-renowned addiction consultant who believes in treating the problem of addiction, not the symptoms. I love that statement because when you go to the doctor, he doesn't chase down symptoms. He wants to know what's going on, what's causing the symptoms, right? And so that is what Dr. Kelly does. He has worked for many years helping addicts and alcoholics to recover their lives from the disease of addiction based on his own experiences working with addicts and alcoholics over the last 20 years, a PhD in psychology from Oxford University, and as a recovered alcoholic himself, he is a triple threat against the disease of addiction. Our guest was the CEO of a thriving telecommunications company when the walls came crashing down on him due to alcoholism. He ended up homeless and broken on the streets of Manchester, England, until he found the courage to save himself. Since recovering, Dr. Kelly has made it his life's mission to assist other hopeless chronic alcoholics and addicts. Listen, he has lectured at many high-profile universities and hospitals about addiction and is recognized as a leading authority on addiction recovery methods that are changing lives. Dr. Kelly is currently the CEO of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group. So I want to give you the website right away, and we're going to give it to you again. It's very simply robbkelly.com. You can follow the links here at Take 12 Recovery Radio. Dr. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's going to be amazing. Looking forward to this. Online with the Monty Man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, how exciting is this? You have been referred to as the Gordon Ramsay of the recovery community because of your passion. Now, some people don't know who Gordon Ramsay is. I can't imagine that. But I'll let you investigate that on your own. But you have an incredible passion for recovery and for people that are hurting. How come?
Oh, man, I don't think this is a job, it's a passion, and only because I suffered so badly. And I just wanted somebody like me today to find me and go, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how we need to do it. This is how we can get you well. Because the only thing I was hearing when I was sick was just like, don't worry about it. You'll get it by osmosis. I still don't know what that means. So today, there's one guy that didn't give up on me, Monty. One guy. Everybody else did. And after about 7 or 8 years, this one guy helped me, and I got well. And today, having working with people for 27 years, over 5,500 people, I still want to be that guy, that one guy that somebody can turn to.
I'm gonna ask you a question a little bit later on the show that's kind of a controversial one, and I'll save that towards the end of the show. But do you find yourself a controversial guy within the recovery community?
Oh, well, hell yes.
That's great. Got to stand out.
People in 12-step rooms just because I'm loud and obnoxious. But the thing is, Monty, I've been out with some people after for coffee and they go, something, Rob? You're literally really quiet and shy. And I go, I am. But when I speak about recovery, I don't take any crap. This is the deal. Here's the book. Do it or go drink. Whatever it is, stop wasting my time. And people go, well, you can't say that. Shut up. I just said it, and I'll say it again. Sugarcoating this crap kills people. Let's have it straight. Let's have it right. There's a way out of this BS that you're going through, and there's a million of us out there that will show you the way. But, you've got to remember a couple of things, Monty. Not everybody in a 12-step room is an alcoholic or addict.
That's right.
Everybody give you their opinion. And everybody tries to kill people. And everyone wants to be a part-time psychologist. It's like, let's stick to the facts here. There's a growing amount of people out there who have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. And we are here to tell you that your dreams and your life can be beyond your wildest dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that. I've been on a pink cloud for 27 years.
Yeah, there you go. My sponsor used to tell me as long as I had a parachute, I could stay on the cloud.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why, Dr. Kelly, why do you think there is such, and this has been going on for decades, why there is such a huge controversy between recovering and recovered?
Simple as this. The recovering guys have not read the book properly.
Amen.
The chapters of the book says that 17 times in the first 164 that we've recovered. The title page tells us of how many hundreds of men and women have recovered. The word recovered, so let's look at the word recovered. What does it mean? Well, the Oxford English Dictionary, what the Oxford group was named after, the guys went to Oxford, says to gain one's health and state of mind back. So I've recovered from alcoholism, but I'll always be an alcoholic. I've recovered from food poisoning, but there is no cure. However, I do a few simple steps each time I cook to make sure I don't get food poisoning again. Recovering, in the Oxford English Dictionary, is to say that you're continuously suffering and trying to get well from a disease. So I know which one I want to choose, because 9 out of 10 times with alcoholism and addiction, it's all about the mind. What we think, what we feel, how we know. If everyone keeps walking around saying you're going to relapse, you're going to relapse, you're going to relapse, sooner or later you're going to relapse. Yeah. So these things psychologically I've recovered, as long as you don't mix recovered with cured. And every time somebody says that, I say, hey, dumbass, go out and buy a dictionary. They're two different words, two different meanings.
Yeah.
But it's simple as this. If you've read the book and you know exactly the first 164, what it means, you're a recovered alcoholic if you've had the spiritual awakening and your psychic change. Because when you have them too, it's a medical fact that your DNA changes. So we've recovered. We're not the same man as we walked in, because the book said the same man will drink again. I don't want to be the same man. I don't want to recover from that crap. I want my DNA to change.
Amen.
And that's what people don't understand. Well, I daren't say I'm recovered in case I jinx it. Jinx it? What are you talking about, jinx it? You've either had a spiritual awakening and God's took away your compulsion to drink, or he hasn't. You've got nothing to jinx. This isn't a game of hopscotch. You can't jinx it.
I love it.
Right.
I absolutely love it. We are so on the same page. I just love it. Now, you talk about changing the way we think, and we'll change the way we drink. Now, there's a word here that I have a hard time pronouncing.
Oh, here we go.
And here we go. Neuroplasticity. Well,
almost.
Blah, 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 blah.
Neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
There you go. Talk to us about that. Tell the listeners, what exactly is that?
So this is going to blow your mind, guys. Listen. So neuroplasticity came out about 10 years ago when the health organization came out to all the doctors and said, hey, guys, we found out that the brain is like plastic. We can redevelop, we can remold, and we can divert neural pathways in the head because the alcoholic and addict is born with self-sabotaging neural pathways. So all the medical fraternities are getting really excited about this, going, hey, we can really do this. In 1939, as all three of us know, the book talks about psychic change. Psychic of the mind change of mind. It's the same thing as neuroplasticity. If we can change neural pathways from our ingrained self-sabotaging neural pathways to healthy neural pathways, it's almost impossible to relapse once that has occurred in the human brain. But the guys were right. It's a psychic change. And it doesn't just say a psychic change. It says an entire psychic change. So if I've heard it loads of times, oh, well, you just, I'm acting out old behavior. If you're doing old behavior today, it's not old behavior, it's current behavior. Your mindset can change. The doctor said to the alcoholic, you have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. There's a big difference there. The disease sensitive is my mind, period. I've heard people say, I crave for alcohol. You can't crave for anything that's not already in the body. It's an impossibility. What happens is the mental obsession starts, as all of us know.
Yes.
So the disease is in the mind. If you don't change the mind, you will relapse.
And do you think that is the big difference between an alcohol abuser and an actual alcoholic? True?
Very, very true. Very, 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 very true. Or as we like to say, the heavy drinker and the real alcoholic. The book says real alcoholic. And the reason why I keep going back to the book, Monty, is not because it belongs to AA or whatever. It's got nothing to do with that. In all the 20 years I've spent in colleges and universities and schooled, and I studied Carl Jung, the first 164 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is the best piece of literature ever wrote for the recovering alcoholic, therefore recovered after he finishes. It's absolutely mind-blowing, the first 164. It gives us all the answers. But I've been around 35 years in AA, and what I found is people part read the book, they don't really understand the words that are in it, and then they want to give me their opinion.
Right.
The problem, their opinion will kill me. There's a fine line between doing exactly what the book tells us to do, therefore is 100% guaranteed, as in the first manuscript off the press, or giving you an interpretation of what I think the book says.
Exactly. It's interesting because I had a guest on probably about a year and a half ago. Dave, I don't know if you were here or not. Her name was Sharon, and she was here with Marv. And she told me, she says, one of the reasons we didn't like you at that home group is because you kept quoting stuff out of the Bible. And I said, well, I am a Christian man, but I've never even brought a Bible into the AA meeting. I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, no, you did. You were quoting the Bible. And then I did a little investigation. I found out what she was talking about was parts of the Big Book that I was reading. That told me she didn't even know her Big Book.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, that's the same thing that happened to me. It wasn't, I tried every other, the easier, softer way, and my way, my interpretation.
Right.
It wasn't until I had a spiritual encounter and then decided, as Monty knows, my saying is all we have to do is, the only thing we have to change is everything.
Right.
And that was I had to go, and I actually had to read the material and then actually do it. For me, I call it the Idiot's Guide to Recovery, because if you follow what it says,
you'll recover.
Yeah, it's easy. To me, it was easy, but it wasn't until I got to that point, where I surrendered, as they say, to the process.
So Rob, do you think this is kind of my take on it? We've got so many people sponsoring folks that don't know the literature, that don't know the process, not by any fault of their own, because their sponsors didn't and their sponsors didn't. We got all these generational of sponsors that are not teaching what the literature says. And so we have a lot of people becoming meeting dependent based on sitting around drinking bad coffee, talking about their day. And then we wonder how come the revolving door keeps revolving.
Exactly. And it comes down to a couple of things. Watered down sponsorship from lack of information. Watered down God. Don't like to upset anybody in AA now. Come on, everyone's got to be friends.
Right.
And watered down programs. And that's it. When you look at the early days of AA and you look at the 99% success rate around Accra and you look at the success rate of today, if you believe what the stats read, it's 3 to 5%. Why? Because we're not passing on the real message. You know, the real message is that you just like food poisoning, you can recover from this and there's no cure. You know, we have a daily reprieve. What does reprieve mean? I ask people this all the time. Well, I don't know. It just means like one day. A reprieve means a stay of execution. Let's look at the words in the book and what it really means. Mm-hmm. Because when the book tells us that we can recover specific, precise, exact ways to recover, you know, it's like, well, it's a done deal, but people are like changing it all the time. They don't know what the words mean. I ask people all the time. Earnestness is mentioned 12 times in the big book. What does it mean? Well, it kind of means with like belief. Yeah, but what's the synonym? I don't know. The synonym of earnestness is sober. When he talks about a vital spiritual experience, vital means necessary to life. When we talk about these things like my will, what's my will? When I hand my will and my life over, what does will mean? Well, surely it means willpower. No. In the Oxford English, it says choices. When I hand my choices and that sense. But people are not doing that. They're reading it, get their own interpretation, and people are dying. My first sponsor said we don't do anything for 12 months, then we do a step a month. Why did he sell that? Exactly like you said, Monty, because his sponsor told him that way. I'm not interested about what your sponsor told. What does a book say?
Right.
Because until you've had a step 12 spiritual experience, you can relapse, and you will relapse if you're a chronic alcoholic. So what happens in the late 40s and 50s is the treatment center was born. And what happened is they started spewing over to AA and judges. 90 days in 90 meetings. Well, that comes from a judge. It's not an AA saying. And they spewed into our meetings. And what happens to AA? It buckled under the weight. And we allowed them to come into our meetings and talk crap about how their day was going. It's my responsibility today when I go to a meeting to bear witness that they're still suffering. Whether I'm having a bad day or not, that's not the place to spill my guts. That's why God gave me counselors and therapists. I don't want to go into a meeting where little Johnny sat in the corner dying of untreated alcoholism, and I'm pissing and moaning about what a bad day I've had. Get out of here. That's not what you do in a 12-step room. And if you can't do that and you don't think you're responsible to do that, you're in the wrong meeting, buddy.
I love it. I mean, gosh, can I put you in my pocket and
right.
take you with me to my home group?
That's kind of how, meetings have gone. I mean, I even put that in my tool belt. It's like I'm going to meetings every day. In the beginning, I went to meetings every day for almost 2 years, and that was my thing. It was like I get to go here, and I get to share how my day is going, good or bad, and I got to leave it there. I kind of fell into that. But then I was like, you know what? This is what we're here to share, experience, strength, and hope for that guy next to me who's still suffering. And so I had to switch my mindset,
right?
As I go. But I didn't know any better because I didn't know any better.
Right.
But the problem is that is passed on. When somebody goes to an AA meeting, they sit there and listen to these old guys with 50 years sobriety, never sponsored anybody, pissing and moaning that I had a flat tire that morning because it was raining. These guys are listening to this. And they think that's how they're going to get better, by going to a meeting and sharing, what a bad day they've had or how bad they're suffering.
Right.
That's not what the meeting's about. If I see a newcomer in, I have my point of reference, which is my big book, and I'm over to him. I say, look, Johnny, have you seen in here where it says you can recover from this BS you're going through? Have you seen in here, Johnny, where it says you can solve the drink problem, Johnny? Have you seen in here, Johnny, where it says you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams? Because that's the stuff we're going to get excited about, Johnny. You're not going to listen to these idiots in the corner that haven't got a life and are heavy drinkers, because them are the guys that are killing AA. Wasn't it true that Dr. Bob's on his deathbed that AA will once be ruined, but not by people on the outside, but by people on the inside? These guys there, they've never done anything. They're either gay, lonely, or the wife said he got a drink problem, and that's fine. I've got nothing against that. But when somebody sat at the back of the room suffering from untreated alcoholism, shut up. You've got nothing to say to them. You know, and that's the bottom line. And if I'm in a meeting, I'm standing up, Monty, and I'm going, hey, that's all good and well. Thank you for sharing that, but that's not why we're here, guys.
Yeah.
This is it. So, yeah, I'm hated in some AA rooms, but I'll tell you what, I'm loved in the AA rooms that follow the big book and have the solution. I don't have a common problem with anybody. I have a common solution with the guys that want to get this deal.
Yeah, amen. And you know, it's interesting because here in Lynn County, Oregon, where our radio studio is located, the folks in the majority of 12-step fellowships in this area will not listen to my show. And I, you know, of course, part of it is you're a never prophet in your own home. You know what I mean? Yes. The other piece, though, is because we do exactly what we do. We stick to the literature. We talk about what's in the book. For instance, one of the first things we got criticized for doing when we started this thing 16 years ago was you're breaking the traditions going on radio. I'm saying, explain to me how we're breaking the traditions. You know, we don't affiliate. We talk about AA. We talk about the big book, but never once have I ever made a statement that I'm affiliated with. In fact, we have a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. And we got a blessing from New York, the service office. They gave us their blessing. But people don't pay attention. They don't listen to the disclaimer, just like they don't read the big book. They don't. They listen to people chatter in the meetings, and they think that's what the program is, and that's not. That's
too many
the fellowship.
Ignorant people out there.
Yeah. People just don't.
Got to wake them up.
Don't pay. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to continue this discussion, particularly in the area of permanent recovery, and then I want to talk about sustaining recovery during a pandemic, right? Which supposedly we're in right now. So don't go away, my friends. More with Dr. Robb Kelly when we come back. Hey everybody, it's the Monty Man, and we know that there are many online support meetings for us all to attend during the COVID pandemic. Well, I'm inviting you to join me every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Emotional Sobriety Anonymous, an incredibly positive online meeting featuring many of our past guests from right here at Take 12 Recovery Radio. To find out how you can be a part of this powerful meeting, visit our website at take12radio.com. Look for the banner with the Zoom link, meeting ID, and password. That's every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Emotional Sobriety Anonymous.
Hey, check it out. You can now access all of our shows from a variety of podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Podomatic, and Player FM. Simply search for Take 12 Recovery Radio, and you'll be tuned into the best in recovery broadcast journalism. Also available at take12radio.com.
Hey guys, this is Richie Supa, and you are listening to Take12Radio.com, recovery talk and positive music.
Welcome back to the show.
You have to approach this like nothing else you've ever done in the world. Your job can't come first. Meetings can't come between you and God. You have to put perspective into practice here to make sure that you get well.
Very interesting statement. Meetings can't come between you and God. I want to touch on this really quick because that statement right there is raising some hairs with people. I know that because so many people have become so meeting dependent rather than God dependent that they're missing the boat. Am I on the same page with you here, Doctor?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, exactly. You know, meeting makers make it. Where did you say that? I don't believe. 90 meetings in 90 days? What's that all about? We go to meetings to bear witness to the still suffering alcoholic. We don't go to meetings because it's going to get us well and we need it. The big book gets us well. You know, some of the stuff I've heard in AA meetings, Monty, I want to call the police and have them all arrested for attempted murder with some of the crap I hear there. So it's definitely not the meetings that are keeping me sober, and probably 500,000 people that I know. It's down to the first 164, and a power, which is God, tells you straight, God either is or he isn't. Mentions Jesus Christ in the first 164, page 11, second word.
Yep.
Not saying be a higher power, but I'm saying it has to be a power, capital P, greater than you. So a doorknob can't be it, a light can't be it. So this is the stuff we need to look at. You go to 1,000 meetings in 90 days. If you haven't had a spiritual awakening and the psychic change by the time you finish, you're going to relapse if you're a real alcoholic.
Yeah. And my sponsor used to say, if I'm powerless and you're powerless, left to our own devices, 0 plus 0 is 0. Whether it's you and me in a room or a room full of 100 people, 0 plus 0 is still 0. And we still need this power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity. And it's not going to be you and I.
Definitely. No human power. That's what it says.
No human power.
I believe that. I tried everything in the world. I tried private treatment. I tried government treatment. I tried praying. I tried acupuncture. I tried everything. Yeah. I was home for 14 months, Monty. 14 months. I was homeless. And only when I turned to God and asked for his help, 30 seconds later, my life changed. And here I am in San Antonio, 4,500 miles away from home, doing what I've got to do.
Well, our guest, Robb Kelly, Ph.D., has worked with thousands of people, including celebrities of film, music, and sports. He has lectured at many high-profile universities and hospitals on the subject of addiction and is recognized as a leading authority on addiction recovery methods that are changing lives all around the world. And I think one of the reasons that true recovery changes lives is because of two words: permanent recovery. Not this revolving door thing. So explain to us your take on permanent recovery.
Permanent recovery means obviously for life. Now, we talk about a daily reprieve, that's fine. But we're talking about permanent recovery because once the psychic change of neural pathways has occurred, the way you think is different in your mind. So my knee-jerk reaction as an alcoholic, and I was born this way, you can't drink yourself to becoming an alcoholic, believe me, it's a medical fact. I'm born this way. I have to change my neural pathways. I have to change the way I think. So what happens is if I'm doing repetition, strengthen, and confirms. So if I'm doing my daily stuff, and my daily stuff means doing my prayers in the morning, calling my sponsor, doing my mirror work, doing a bit of 12-step work, helping another human being, complimenting 3 people every day, and as the book says, acting the Good Samaritan every day. If I do that, I'm studying the sunlight of the Spirit. Once I'm in the sunlight of the Spirit, nobody can touch me. I can go anywhere alcohol served. And as long as I do that on a daily basis, I'm in permanent recovery, which means that if I do this on a daily basis, it's impossible to relapse. And I hear this all the time in meetings. While I was doing my program, then I relapsed. Stop doing that BS. It's impossible to do both. You can either have one or the other. You can't have both. This is 100% guaranteed. Permanent, like the book says. That's what I'm interested in, Monty, permanent recovery. I'm not interested in a couple of days and white-knuckling it and, this is one day at a time not drinking. That's not flipping recovery. That's hell on earth.
Yeah.
The struggling alcoholic who's still suffering from untreated alcoholism, I would not wish that on my worst enemy, because we all 3 of us know what that's like. It's a torment hell in your own head. So let's talk about permanent recovery. Let's talk about a life beyond your wildest dreams. Let's talk about the best years of your life are ahead of you. Let's get excited about recovery. And don't give a crap what anybody else is, the downers. Don't get on that pink cloud. Shut up! Why are you telling newcomers that? What you should be saying is, good job, Johnny, this is it. You can have this feeling for the rest of your life. But there's people in AA who's never had the spiritual awakening and psychic change, and they're jealous of the guys coming in, and they see him light up, and they see him talk different, and they act different and walk different, and they've recovered, and they are jealous, and they will try and bring you down. Oh, Monty, you can't play that. It's tradition. Shut up. You're doing a service that's saving lives on a daily basis. If you're not doing anything for anybody, if you're not involved in something like Monty's involved with, shut up. You've got nothing to say to us. You should never bring another alcoholic down, no matter what he's done. Because if you do, it just shows you exactly where you're standing.
Amen.
You know, it's interesting because it's very common to hear a newcomer, maybe after their first month of going to meetings, make a statement like, I'm thinking that maybe I'd be interested in becoming a drug and alcohol counselor. And somebody invariably will shoot them down. They'll say, well, that's stupid. You shouldn't even be thinking that way. And all that. But that may be the first healthy thing they've even thought about.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah. And they're gonna shoot it down.
Yeah, and they're going to shoot it down.
We teach, this is what we teach people here. First of all, you can do anything you want to do. And the first reply I get back was, well, I can't be president. Well, that question's gone by the by now. So again, you can be anything you want to be. You can go, how far do you want to take this, guys? That's what I ask people. Because if we're not drinking and using, the addicted brain is an absolute phenomenal piece of equipment. It will reach heights that you've never even dreamed of. Monty, I'm homeless on the streets of Manchester. Today, they call me one of the best minds in the modern addiction world. How did that happen?
Right.
Because the sponsor said to me, Rob, you can do anything you want. And I believe that guy, Monty. But if you know something, if he would have turned around and said, don't be stupid, going to America, that's ridiculous. I've probably been at home in a one-bedroom apartment crying myself and drinking. That's the difference.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Dr. Kelly. Absolutely wonderful. Listen, let's talk about this whole pandemic thing a little differently than what most people are talking about it right now. It's interesting because Dave knows this. A few weeks back, we did a show called Recovery in the Midst of a Politically Charged Climate. And what I did intentionally was really focused on Rule 62, don't take life so seriously. And we tried to make light of things and kind of joke around and, and man, did I get hate mail. Well, you don't care. You don't care about people's health. And I'm like, come on. I mean, we were trying to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. And I'm finding people don't like that. People not only do not want to recover, they go from, I don't know when we went from keep it simple to keep them sick, but we did.
Sheeple.
And the whole sheeple thing, yeah. But the truth of the matter is, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what side of the fence you are politically, the truth of the matter is you can recover in the middle of a pandemic. Right, Dr. Kelly?
Of course you can. In fact, the recovered alcoholics out there, I know a bunch of them where I'm living now, are getting with the right people wherever I go. This is a time when we stand strong. My wife said to me when it first started, I'm scared, Rob, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you know something? Isolation and worry and performing under pressure is what I did for so many years when I was drinking. This is time to stand up, guys. The guys that's been to hell and back, it's time to stand up, calm everyone else down. There is a pandemic on. People are getting sick. We all know that. But this is the time for leaders to stand up and start leading. And I'll tell you something, Monty, in all the experience I've had, I'm nearly 60 now, the recovered alcoholic who stands up and leads is just absolutely amazing. Because people need leaders. People need that excitement and confidence. And look, guys, everything's going to be okay. I know people are dying. I know people are getting sick, but follow direction. Just, don't let it scare you into staying in the house all day. If you go out, wear the mask. You follow direction of the state. And it's just like food poisoning. I keep going back to food poisoning. There's no cure for it, but it's out there. But we can't stop our lives. I know so many people the last 3 weeks that we and 5 of us have taken through. 32 people in the last 5 weeks that's recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body who were, and I'm telling you, Monty, the truth, 7 weeks ago were chronic alcoholics in suffering and pain. And that's what we do. It doesn't make a difference about what's going on outside. It's what's inside. If you can change the way you think, you can change the way you do anything.
Yeah. Amen. And so one of the things, Dave and I have worked together before at the Adult and Teen Challenge program here in the Pacific Northwest. And one of the things that we emphasize, it's a faith-based residential recovery program, 12-step supportive. One of the things that we teach on a regular basis is this whole idea of changing the way we think. That, again, like you talk about. We're not chasing down symptoms. And so I asked the guys when they first come in, why are you here? Why do you believe you're here? And the answer comes back most of the time, all surrounded around consequences. I want my wife back. I want my best friend back. I want my job back. I want my consequences to change. And what they learned there is that, is it possible that they're actually in a recovery program to learn how to be a maximum service to God and the people he puts in their lives? And that abstinence is the hook, but that's not the real reason they're there. What do you think about that?
Boom. You just exploded the studio. That is one of the best things I've ever heard. Of course it is. I tell people who come here, this is not about you anymore. This is about people waiting for you to help them to get well. Now, put your big pants on. Let's do this deal, and let's start loving and finding out who the real you is. Because one of the biggest problems with alcoholics and addicts is they don't realize who they are. Because people have been pounding them, waste of time, you never do anything, you never be any good. Let's change that mindset. Let's change that mindset to a powerful. Monty, empowered people empower people, period. And this is the time to start empowering people. It's a beautiful world out there. It's a beautiful 24 hours. You know, what can I pack into that? How can I lead people into a better life? Because when I got well, the guy said to me, like, this is not about you, Rob. You know, you see, Rob, I've seen you go to meetings, Rob, and I've seen you drink the coffee and hit on the women, Rob. You've never done the work, have you, Rob? And I'm like, no, show me how to do it because I want to help people. And I find out, and I've tried and tested this, is when I know this for a medical fact. When I say thank you to somebody or I give them something, dopamine is released in my brain. Every time I say thank you. So I like some dopamine. So I'm always saying thank you to people. And this is the fact that other people are relying on us. Now, when I look at the streets, and I hated my higher power because it took the kids off me and my wife had gone and everybody had abandoned me on the streets. And I mean abandoned on the streets. I used to hate him. And all of a sudden when I recovered, it's like, oh my God, I realize now. I look at them that time in my life, it looks like a semester at Harvard to me because the information and the experience I got that God took me through to empower people today is mind-blowing. So if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, my God, there's no way out. Oh, my God, what am I going to do? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to find yourself a sponsor who's had the spiritual awakening and the psychic change, therefore the DNA's change. You're going to ask him to take you through the book. You're going to have the spiritual awakening and psychic change yourself. And if you think that's the best thing in the world that can happen to you, wait till you pass it on.
Yeah, wait till you pass it on. Amazing things happen. There's nothing like seeing the light come on in somebody else's eyes when you're working with them. And you're seeing their brain change or their thinking change, and they have those aha moments. It is powerful stuff. Dave, before I ask him this controversial question, you have anything you want to ask Dr. Kelly?
All I got to say, man, is you and I are cut from the same cloth. I'm kind of the same way. I dial it back a little bit sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I've had to lay into people and I've had people say, you know, it's the first time anyone's ever called me out on my BS and said, hey, you know, I care about you. Let's do something different. Let's fix your past and create a new life for yourself.
And that's the difference, isn't it, Dave? I think that's the difference. You see, I don't know whether it's a problem or whether it's a trait. I don't mean to cause controversy, but I tend to say what people are thinking.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, I wish that guy would talk about that. But I'm the guy that stands up and said, listen, shut up. You know, I don't care what people think of me. Oh, Rob, you better watch your back. I'm watching my back, sunshine. You want to do something about that? I'm coming from the floor. I've got God last night. Hey. You want to argue with me? Me and God had a conversation on the dark streets of Manchester one night, 30 seconds before the guy found me. And that was, I'm going to send you around the world practicing and teaching this book and guaranteeing people can recover, Rob. And I'm going to give you a life beyond your wildest dreams. So if I go into meetings just like Dave and I'm telling you the truth, that's quote to quote from the book, book. What are you going to do about it? You either show me something's different in the book or you shut up, because I have all bases cornered, man. You want to come from the education side? I have 2 PhDs, one in psychology, one in behavioral science that I finished last year. You want to start any controversy? Step outside. I'm 280 pounds of pure muscle that will beat your head in if you want to get physical. You want to get controversial? Stop it. And I saw a thing the other day. It says, at a conference, the controversial doctor from San Antonio. I ain't controversial. I just don't mind cursing from the podium and telling you like it is, because I'm sick to death of watching people die both inside and outside the room. It's phenomenal. I love my life today, guys. And I go to meetings and people walk out. And I go, do you know something? The power of God is strong. Because you know what I found, Monty and Dave? I've found when truth walks in, bullshit walks out.
That's what it's all about. You know, like I look at that word, you know, controversial, as it just says that you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Some guy's coming in to tell the truth, and I don't really want to hear the truth, so I'm going to leave. Because that's what it's all about. If you're telling the truth, and that, you know, in my own personal life and my recovery, it's like, if you always have to tell the truth, you don't have anything to remember. You're just letting it out. And if people don't like the truth, then you planted a seed, and hopefully they'll come back.
I needed a sponsor in my life that would call me on my stuff, even if he was wrong, because I'd get over the offense, but I wouldn't get over it if he didn't call me out and he was right. And that was hard for me, but it saved my bacon.
Yeah, and this is what we need to start enforcing in the rooms is we're not here to save your feelings, guys. We're here to save your life.
Yeah.
We have a book here that's been tried and tested over 80 years. It's 100% guaranteed. It works. The percentages are so low because we're not reading from the book. It's like me. I always say to people, Monty, I say, have you ever had a math lesson? I say, yeah. So I had a book once, and it had a math equation in it. It had 2 and 2 equals 4. Am I going to go into a math class and argue it flipping equals 5 when the book said it equals 4? It's like, are you insane? But that's what people are doing. Well, it doesn't really say. It's open to interpretation. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's a suggested program, but it's not a program of suggestion.
Right on.
There's 103 must words in that book. Right. There's over 130 messages. There's over 130 promises. And there's 352 God words. Go figure.
Yeah, I love that. First time I ever heard that, my buddy Chris Schroeder said, it's a suggested program, not a program of suggestions. And I was like, wow, that's like a huge bumper sticker, man.
Right.
That is
I just
amazing.
Tell people, if you want what I have, then listen up, and I'll tell you how to get there.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because nobody wants to do things.
If I want what you got, maybe I ought to do what you do. I mean, so many people say, "Well, don't do what I do; you might get drunk." Well, I believe you.
Those are the ones that need to, shut their mouth and sit down.
When people say they're working their own program, I believe them. I really do believe them.
That's the best one. Yeah, I work my program, you work yours. It's not your program. Right. Who do you think you are? It's the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that God created that will work in your life. If you're going into a meeting, guys, and you're arguing with people about the book, you're in the wrong meeting for the wrong reasons. There's a bunch of meetings out there you can go to. Get out of our meetings and stop being, causing controversy because you're confusing people. Just because the first sponsor I met is like, well, we'll do a step a month. Well, hey, Rob, don't be so hard on yourself. What does the book say? It says we must always be hard on ourselves, but considerate of others. And all these misquotes are just unbelievable. Sometimes, you can choose a God as you of your own understanding. Show me where it says that in the book. I will send you $100,000 right now.
Yep.
It never says that. You can choose your own concept. And these are the little things that they like to twist around. Well, there's no cure for alcoholism. There's no cure for food poisoning or the common cold, dumbass. Doesn't mean you can't get well on a daily basis because that's what we're talking about. Everybody in the world has 24 hours. You know, and that's all we got. What are you going to cram in today? A bunch of crap about negativity all the time to bring the fellow alcoholic down? Or are you going to build him up and watch him grow? And the only reason why you're not building and watching grow is because of your sad life. That you're going to the meetings for the wrong reasons. You're not a real alcoholic, and you've got nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be some complaints now, Monty.
Oh, that's good.
Bring it on.
Yeah, we love them. We love them. In fact, the whole reason this station started 16 years ago is because I was in an NA meeting, quoting from the literature where it talks about that tired old lie, once an addict, always an addict, will no longer be tolerated by society or the addict themselves. The lie is dead. We do recover. And a guy told me to shut up and sit down. If I wanted to spew my opinion, I should start my own radio program. And I was reading out of their literature, for crying out loud.
Wow.
So I came home, bought myself a microphone. It's, well, you know how we are. Somebody tells us not to do it, we're going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll show you.
So let me switch gears here a little bit, and I've got, because we're getting down to the wire here. I want to ask you, and speaking of controversial, I heard an interview that I don't know if it was on the Doctors or where it was, that they asked you about, they brought up the topic of needle exchange and medically supervised injection sites. Now, I know we're switching gears a little bit here, but I've had a hardline opinion about that for a long time. And after I heard Dr. Kelly's view on this, I started to change my thinking. Talk about changing your thinking. I still don't know. The jury's still out in my brain about this, but I wanted to talk about this a little bit more. We have a lot of purists that are really dead set against any kind of medically supervised injection sites where people can come, shoot up heroin, make sure they don't overdose, that kind of thing. And then we have people that are absolutely for this. Dr. Kelly, can you share your views?
Yeah, well, I looked at it. I knew the question was coming, believe it or not. So usually I don't like questions. Just give it to me blind, let me answer them. But I knew this was coming. So I really did my research because, to be honest with you, Monty, I was with you. I'm like, that's a stupid idea. Who the hell? But the more I looked into it, the more I thought to myself, and here's my train of thought, that if they're going to do it anyway. Guys, I mean, you're going to be able to see this when they walk in, but they're going to do it anyway. In back alleys, leave syringes on the floor. Your kid walks up, picks it up, bush, she's got a needle in her arm. You know, if we can not control it, but if we can replace to safely do this, if we have somebody there like a counsellor or even a 12-step guy, and he can save one person out of 1 million addicts that go in there, wouldn't that be worth it? You know, and it's not about letting them do it there. It's about let's get them away from the streets so they're not doing it on the streets where everyone can see it or everyone can find the needles and all past it. Let's try and control and give them a place for safety. Let's hand out clean needles. It's not saying to people it's okay to do it. I mean, it's like in England when they open the pubs 24 hours. All the alcoholics going, oh, that's bad news. It's no, we can't decide that. Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know. Old Chinese proverb, you know,
right.
Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know. You know, I've got a friend of mine who missed out on the Uber thing when he supposed to put 100 grand in. He could have got $43 million back. And I said to him, look, Gary, are you crazy? Are you not really down about that? And he said, Rob, what if I'd have got that money and I got a really private jet that I hired because now I could afford it, and he crashed? So we never know. Is it good? Is it bad? You don't know. So then I thought it was a good idea. But I had a lot of people coming up going, that's crazy. But once I explained my thought of pattern, they were oh, yeah, I kind of get it now. Because if you can't, it's like the drugs influx in our country. Should we just give up and go, we can't beat this? So no, we try and fight. You know, we try and find some way around that this devastation that's taken our country by storm. And I think it would be a good point.
Do you think it is actually doing that though? Do you think it's actually helping, even if it's helping the few? Do you think that's working?
Well, I think time will tell. I think we're too early into it at the moment. I think any trial must be done over about a 5-year period to get a real feedback of what's going on. But this is what I think, and this is my personal opinion, guys, when you listen to this. This is just my thought pattern. The guys that don't want to do that are going to go into the safe place and they're going to inject and use that place. The guys that are chronic and can't come off are going to use it anywhere. Bedrooms, right. Toilet, any difference. So when you get the guys in, if you can start dialogue with them guys, because you know that no real addict really wants to do what they're doing. But they've gone to a safe place. That must mean somewhere in their brain, like 1% doesn't want to do this and wants to get out. If we can start dialogue with them guys, you know, you never know what might come of that, because you're never going to stop it.
So many people that are using for the simple purpose they just don't want to be sick. It's not a matter of them getting high. They just want to feel some sort of normalcy. You know, I may have started drinking because I liked the euphoric effect that it had and the way it made me feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof. But once it bit me in the butt and I had no control over my drinking, how much I used or how much I drank or how often, it wasn't about feeling euphoric anymore. It was about just not being sick.
Feeling normal.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Dave,
well, listen, if you've got guys in isolation hitting the heroin needles or even drinking, you've got no chance of reaching them. But if you've got a guy in a room with 3 other guys and a 12-step guy in the corner and dialogue starts, who knows what might happen? Because these guys are crying out for help. I know I was when I was on the streets, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop because I would be too sick and I just wanted to feel normal. Yeah. You know? So I know you're never going to get ready. I'm never going to get well until you're ready. I understand that. But can you imagine how powerful words are? Just one word to the right guy saves one life. I think it's worth it. I mean, if you don't want to go, don't go. It's done in the doctor's office or a safe medical, you know. I mean, if you don't want to go, don't go. But, I mean,
right.
Don't start causing crap because one guy might get well because of your personal opinions that it's a dirty habit. Because I tell you one thing for sure, and this is my opinion again, guys, I don't think many drug addicts with this conversation would go for the not doing it. Because everybody wants a chance, and everybody should have a chance to recover. And if you're doing it isolation in a dirty bedroom somewhere where you're found dead, can you imagine if he walked into one of them safe places once and said something to the right guy who started dialogue that got him well?
Dave, what do you think about this?
Well, I used to be on, the abstinence,
no exceptions, right?
Right.
Abstinence, no exceptions.
Right. But as over the years, I've been in the field for 10 years now, or just close to 10 years, and I worked at a program, an MAT program, and it works. They guys come in, and guys and girls come in, and they get Suboxone, and they're trying to, ideally they're trying to do a taper, trying to taper off of the opiates. And one of the requirements for the program that I was working at is that they participate in treatment. So they had meetings, they had a group that they could come to that was safe, they could share what's going on in their life and weren't alone.
Mm-hmm.
And some changed, some didn't.
Here's my issue, Rob, though, with what like Dave's talking about. I know of treatment facilities that will not graduate their clients until they've been weaned off the Suboxone. I know others, most of them, that will release them from the treatment center after 90 days and teach them how to manage their Suboxone use. And I'm like, really? I mean, if we're using the Suboxone properly to help them with withdrawal, shouldn't we be teaching them how to wean off the Suboxone instead of managing it?
Here's something controversial.
Yeah, it is.
I love tapers. I love tapers to get people up. That's good. But the brain does not know the difference between a prescribed drug and a street drug. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, boy. Good point.
Right? So
really good point.
It's up to you to decide. I would never step into any other establishment and start giving medical advice. This is someone in a 12-step fellowship, but you've got to ask yourself a question.
Yeah.
It's the same. Some of the molecules are exactly the same. So can the brain tell the difference? Well, no, it can't. So what's the chance of a relapse? It's very, very high. It's like the guy going into a bar when he's sober and drinking non-alcoholic beer. Tests have been done that 97% of them people relapse because the brain doesn't know the difference between it, believe it or not.
Yeah.
We've done tests on people who think they were drunk while they were drinking absolutely no alcohol in what they thought was vodka and Coke because it was water. But what they did is they started to feel drunk because the brain.
Wow.
That's what. Listen, I know we're running out of time, but I walked into a liquor store once, freaking out, going through the DTs. I was absolutely shaking, sweating. It was 5:30 in the morning. The guy knew me, put my £10 on the counter. I was shaking. He put the bottle on the counter, Monty. I grabbed the handle of the bottle. I took a deep breath in. All the sweating stopped. All the shaking stopped. My mood changed in an instant. I looked at the shopkeeper. I looked at the ball. And I thought, oh, my God, it's not the alcohol. Because I've not even opened it. Once I also of a sudden I started to feel really well. So if the brain can do that, it doesn't know the difference. So if you're thinking you're drinking and thinking you're still taking drugs with Suboxone, it's not going to know the difference. You're still going to be addicted.
Right.
Really good point. Oh, my gosh. I love it. I love talking about this. What's that, buddy?
Robb Kelly's in the house.
Yeah, that's right. Robb Kelly is in the house. Dr. Kelly, will you come back on the show at some point?
Oh, my goodness. I've been waiting to get on the show for about 10 years, Monty. I followed you for 10 years, and I thought you were the best thing in the world. And for some unknown reason, I've never got in contact with you. So I will come on the show as many times as you want, as long as I don't get a firing squad coming after me tomorrow.
Well, those are very kind words. Thank you so very much for saying that. Sometimes when we're doing this stuff, we wonder if there's anybody out there paying attention.
Anybody out there listening?
But I got to tell you, my wife. I was going through a woe is me moment not too many years ago when it came to the radio show, and I got an email from, and I've told this story I think to you, Dave, before. I got an email from a guy that said, I just wanted to tell you that I listened to one of your archive shows from several years ago, and I took the gun out of my mouth.
Wow.
And my wife looked at me and she goes, so quit your whining.
Keep doing what you're doing.
I can tell you something, Monty, and I'm not shooting smoke here, but I'll tell you something, both of you guys. You know, I've followed you for quite a long time, Monty, and I've heard people talk about you, and we've had conversations about you. And being in the game for so long, I want to tell you something, Monty. You do a fantastic service. You save lives on a weekly basis with what you do. You inspire me, and you inspire a lot of my friends that listen to you. And I know this for a fact. And sometimes I know what it's like to get battered, because we look at all the negatives and think, oh my God. You guys do an amazing job. I absolutely adore you guys for doing what you're doing, having the balls to do this, especially on the radio. And guys, you are changing lives, and never forget that. This was the highlight of my day today.
Wow. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
Thank you so very much. Before we close out, let's talk about your podcast and your website.
Okay, so the website's robbkelly.com, R-O-B-B, spell my name with two B's. I'm an alcoholic, I have to be different. Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y, so robbkelly.com. Dr. Robb Kelly on Facebook. Just Google my name, it'll come up. Podcast is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central on Facebook Live, and then at 7 p.m. Central, it goes out to about 60 platforms. So look out for us. New guests every week. Got to have Monty on real soon, or Dave on real soon. But yeah, it's awesome. And basically, it's anybody who's recovering from anything in the world. You don't have to be drugs or alcohol. It's information for the family. You can win prizes. It's just, and I'll tell you why, Monty, and I'll tell you this again, and the last time I'm going to stop complimenting you, because we might, I'm not going to say about the ego, because that's not true. But one of the reasons why I started this was listening to your show, Monty. And I thought, that guy is changing lives, and I want to be like him. I kid you not, Monty.
Wow. Okay, Dave, you need to cut a bigger hole in the doorway.
I was just going to say, we might have a problem getting your head out the door.
Well, bless your heart, man. And we got to stick together with this stuff,
right,
and stand firm on our convictions. We're living in a world today, folks, where people have become very wishy-washy because they want to tickle itching ears. I'm not interested in that.
Right. Nobody wants hurt anybody's feelings.
I know. It's that old adage, I'd rather step on your feelings in your grave any day, and I absolutely agree with that. Folks, please visit Dr. Kelly's website, robbkelly.com. You can follow him on Facebook, Dr. Robb Kelly. You want to check this out. You want to check out his podcast. We're talking about solution-focused lifestyle, not problem-focused lifestyle. We got enough of that stuff going on as it is. I know this. that when I lay my head down on my pillow tonight, I have serenity. I know that I'm in a state of recovered, and I know my limitations. I know my boundaries, and it's because of people like Rob, people like you, Dave, people in my life that hold my feet to the fire, and people that tell the truth. If you're not interested in the truth, there's plenty of 12-step whine about your day meetings that you can attend. There are. But if you want to know the truth, if you want it to set you free, right, you need to get your nose in the literature. And you need to follow somebody that's had a spiritual awakening as a result of that. You cannot have a spiritual awakening as a result of steps you haven't done. It's impossible. So, get with somebody that's done that and has had that experience. Robb Kelly, any closing thoughts, my brother?
I have, yeah, guys. If you're out there and you're struggling, or you're feeling down, or you just know where to go, and you think that this is it, your lot life, just listen. Start dialogue with somebody. Get yourself to a good meeting and look at someone's eyes. You can see when they've recovered. Their eyes are shining. They're full of energy. And you know something? If you're sat at home, guys, or family members, and you're don't know who to turn to, jump on the internet. Search for me. Call my assistant. She'll put you through to me. You can talk to me for 20 minutes. It won't cost you anything. I will change your life in a pep talk in 20 minutes, or I will give mom and dad advice to go to the right place. You're not on your own. Even though I do what I do today, I still work in the trenches. My sponsees and people who are in recovery come before my patients. So listen, guys, if you're out there struggling, you don't have to. There's a way out. Call somebody. Start dialogue.
Thank you, Rob, so much. A special thank you to Robb Kelly, his website, robbkelly.com. Thank you, Dave, for joining us today.
Anytime.
Right on. And folks, the first Monday, or the first Monday of every week. There's a first Monday in every week, right? The first 2 Mondays in the month, of course, it is The Great Reality with Marv and Dave Fleming and Denver and myself and Margie. Third Monday of the month is entitled to Overcome Solutions for Life Today with Dave Fleming. We've been doing a whole series with Dr. Alan Berger, the author of 12 Stupid Things to Mess Up Recovery, on emotional sobriety. That is now complete. You can go to our website, click on recovery workshops for that. Also under recovery workshops, you'll find all about intervention with Tony Messbarger and walking through the big book with Chris Schroeder, and Radio Rehab, The Road to Redemption with Brian Duncan. All accessible at take12radio.com. And, gosh, we just got stuff going on all the time, Dave, right?
Got to keep positive changes.
Got to keep doing it. Got to keep doing it. All right. So until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, along with Dave and Robb Kelly, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.